It's Wednesday, October 24th, Thursday, October 25th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We are 150,000 strong nightly on the SOR radio network at Deep Talk Radio. We say hello to each and every one of you. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot. Soon you'll be able to shop at our brand new store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe today. When we look at contact with extraterrestrials, we often wonder how they contact us and why are they contacting ordinary, everyday people out of the blue. Tonight, our guest, Saryon Michael White, author of the new book, Roya Sands and the Bridge Between Worlds, is now available online, by the way. You can find that. Saryon's unique spiritual training has allowed him to combine empathic, intuitive gifts and the ability to channel messages from guides from all over the cosmos. His website is saryon.com, and when you're there, you can explore his growing library of videos, connect with articles, his book, and so much more. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, Paranoia Magazine's Olaf Phillips will be with us for the SOR Newswire. Mr. Saryon Michael White, good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. It's an exciting opportunity to share and co-create with a show that I love.
Well, we're glad you love us too, my friend. What have you been up to since the last time we talked?
Well, I have been traveling the world quite a bit, actually. I've been to Peru a couple of times. I just got back from India. Have been to Bosnia, Sweden, Iceland. I've just been kind of all over the place.
That's pretty exciting, man. That's pretty exciting. You know, we always question how we came into this field, my friend. And for you, the story is no different because you've been somebody who has grown up intuitive your entire life. This is something that you didn't have to go seeking to find. You just kind of fell into it because that's what life does. Explain to people how this whole experience with your intuition and extraterrestrials started.
Well, it started, actually, I was about 17 years old, and I had a very strange dream that I would say, looking back, was really my first conscious contact experience as a young adult. Now, later on, I remembered that I had other kinds of contact experiences in my youth, including an abduction experience, and there was a lot of interesting things to recover in my memory, you know, as things unfolded, but when I had that first dream, I found myself walking out into this field, and there was an extraterrestrial ship up above me, and I felt a presence of these beings kind of looking down and observing, and it was so powerful that I knew I'd never had any experience like that in a dream before. So there was something to it. There was something very real. And I woke up, and I felt like, you know, there's something watching us. Well, as time went on, I experienced some pretty profound spiritual openings, which caused me to start having out-of-body experiences. Well, what was the very first thing you think that somebody like me did, being able to go out of body? I thought, okay, show me the UFOs. Take me to the aliens I want to see, because I've been reading books about this my whole life. I want to know, are they really there, and what's up with them? And so
right.
I started asking if there were any spiritual guides or helpers that could take me to where I could see one of these things from an out-of-body vantage point. And, of course, the very next night it happened, and I was seeing these different extraterrestrial ships coming and going. The interesting thing that I observed was that the ones that I was seeing at that time were also in the realm that would be considered the afterlife realm. So it was an observation of understanding that there are different densities of reality, and that some of these ships can come and go from these higher densities of reality that we don't perceive with our physical senses, and they can appear within our density of reality here on Earth and move back and forth, like going up and down a scale of vibration. Well, I thought this was fascinating, and I said, you know what, the only thing that would be cooler is if I could see one of these appear in my physical reality. And the very next night, that's what happened. I was out at a lake with some friends, and a ship came down out of the sky, and it moved right over the water of the lake and came right up on us, and I felt the same kind of probing presence enter my mind, where I felt like I was being scanned from the inside by this telepathic awareness. And that was when I knew absolutely this is real, this is not just a dream, and the out-of-body experiences are completely real too, because I went there, I asked for it, they came down, here they are. So I wish I would have stuck around a little bit longer, but I was a little bit terrified of that first experience, and I very promptly ran away and got to what I thought would be safer ground, thinking that maybe that was going to become an abduction experience. But fortunately, it didn't, and it opened some doorways for other contact experiences, and it's kind of been a process of gradually integrating with this greater reality over the last 20 years of my life. There have been quiet periods where not a lot was going on. There have been other times where there was a tremendous amount of psychic, spiritual activity and sightings of ships and telepathic communication with different beings inside, and I've kind of gotten to know quite a number of different beings personally. Some of them are like spiritual colleagues to me that offer information at times. And I'm just kind of humbly a student of everything.
So when you were going through this, growing up with this ability, I mean, how long did it take you to accept it? Because for a lot of people who get thrown into this mix, whether it's a childhood or adulthood, there is a real struggle trying to figure out if this is a new reality or if this is just some sort of mind trick being played.
Well, fortunately, I always had a really big imagination. I wasn't always aware of anything intuitive or psychic. I did go through a period of time where I didn't have access to those things. I had lucid dreams, and I had my imagination, and I always kind of thought that there was something bigger, and that one day, the doorway would open, and I would start to, remember things that I maybe forgot as a small child, which is exactly what happened. But when I moved into this, I kind of started out from zero. I did not have an awareness of any kind of range of psychic abilities. That kind of gradually started opening up from the ages of 17, 18, 19. When I was a freshman in college, it started to happen really dramatically. But the integration process with all of these other realities came really smoothly. It felt like this is what I've been waiting for. It was the answer to all of my questions. I'll tell you, though, the thing that I had a challenge with, though, before all of this happened, I think back to when I was maybe about 14, 13 years old. I remember my mother was given this book by Whitley Strieber called Communion. This is one of the books that really sort of broke the story on the whole alien abduction phenomenon.
I still have not finished that book, my friend. Still have not finished that book. And I have to tell you this, and I know my audience has heard this once or twice, but okay. I in 1999, I bought that book because I always had this thing for aliens, right? And I was reading it, and I had just become a father. I think my daughter was about 4 or 5 months old at that point. And I got to the point where he was on the ship and he looked down and his son was right beside him, and he felt a lot of parental guilt over that. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to have my daughter in my arms at that time. And I was like, oh, I'm out. I am so out of this book. Never picked it up again.
It's interesting because, he wrote a whole series of books, and for whatever reason, I didn't start reading them till I was older, but I read the 3 main books in reverse order. So I started with the third one called Breakthrough, and then I read the middle book called Transformation, and then I went back and read Communion. And that was the only way that I was able to really absorb everything that was there, because by the third book, he's really comfortable with all this stuff. It feels safe. He's just an explorer. It's not terrifying anymore. And when you work your way backwards, you get back to the beginning where he's terrified and he doesn't know whether or not he's going crazy. Is any of it real? If I had read that first, it may not have really served me, because like I was saying, when I saw my mom bring this book home at like age 13, 14, just looking at the cover freaked me out, and I could not figure out why. And then later on, I watched a little show. There was nobody else in the house at the time. I was by myself, and I was watching this show about alien abductions, and people were drawing pictures of the beings that they saw, and, you know, these large heads and big black eyes. And something about that terrified me. Like I had to turn my head. I couldn't even look at these simple drawings that people were making. And I had to switch the channel, and then curiosity made me go back, because I had to figure out, why am I having this reaction to this? This is strange. I watch horror movies that are way scarier than this, and yet this is triggering something deep inside me. And I started to think, maybe something happened to me. Maybe something happened when I was younger, and it took me years before I started to get my memory back of what happened. And it was not really up until just, I want to say about 4 years ago, I was in Australia, and I ended up staying at a kind of a cabin that was out in the woods. And it was the first time that I had been like alone in a cabin in the woods. You know, it seems like if I thought about it, I had almost always been a little bit more in civilization, or I had somebody with me. But it allowed the memory of the abduction experience to come up. And I actually had a very vivid memory of being on board the ship and seeing these particular beings. They were Zeta Reticuli beings, and I remember a particular one that looked at me in the eyes for a long time and spoke to me telepathically, and he said things that really helped me understand why a part of me was always a little bit worried that they were going to come back, or but it wasn't really terrifying once I really remembered what was there. Once I got the full memory, it was the not knowing was scarier than finally knowing.
No, that's pretty incredible that you would experience that. For people who have never been face-to-face with an extraterrestrial, tell us what that's like.
Well, by and large, most of the experiences that I've had have been overwhelmingly positive. And I would say that a good number of these experiences have happened out of the body, although there have been ones that have happened in the body. I'll tell you about one experience that is one of my favorites. And I was lying in bed, and I had this intense energy just hit me. And I was then shown an image that indicated to me that a contact experience wanted to happen. And I was freaked out by it and kind of shut it off. And then I realized that they backed off and they were respecting me. So I thought, okay, this is a voluntary experience. I don't have to say yes to this. I can allow this or not, and these beings are totally respecting me. And I had a brief kind of telepathic conversation with them, and they said, we just want to offer you some support energetically. So just go, lay down, relax, and, let us come do our work, and, we're going to help you out. And there was this surge of energy that put me into a deep, blissful trance, and this Arcturian extraterrestrial being appeared by my bed and started working on me and touching my back in different places. And I was able to turn my head and look at the being, and I was able to even reach out and touch its body. Even though its body was very light, it still had some form of density and structure as it was appearing in my reality. But it was fascinating, and the bliss was amazing. So, even when it's a blissful experience, it can still, be a bit frightening, because it's a bit shocking to experience energy that strong, and you definitely can feel overpowered by it. Even when your own self-will is being respected, it's still overpowering. But I've had plenty of other experiences where, I'll give an example of another type of being that turned up once. And he was a somewhat non-physical being, and he was hovering in the air, and he was maybe about 3 feet tall, maybe a little less than that. And this being had a very large head, and it was manifesting the image that it had created and projected of a helmet. And I looked at this being, and I said, why are you wearing this helmet? Because something told me that you don't need this. Why? You're like a little bit, less dense than we are in this reality. And for some reason, I just knew it was unnecessary. And this being said that if you saw what my face actually looked like, you would be frightened of me. And I said, no, I won't be frightened of you, I promise. And so the helmet just disappeared, like it evaporated, and I saw this being, and it had a very strangely shaped head. It was a very large head, and it had somewhat large kind of black eyes, but the shape of the head was unusual. It wasn't like, the grays, and it wasn't, particularly round or anything. There was some other unusual features. And I could see how some people would be pretty freaked out if they saw this thing, but I was at a point where I'd seen enough that I was not going to be freaked out by anything. And I had this beautiful experience of this being just allowing itself to be seen by a human that was not afraid, not judging it, and was just accepting the consciousness of this being in oneness. And there was just this beautiful rapport of love that was there for a few minutes, and then the being went away. So had a pretty full range of experiences over the years.
Yeah, I can totally see that. When you saw this alien, explain this Arcturian that you saw. Explain what it looked like to the people and what it felt like when you reached out and touched it.
Well, it was, again, maybe about a little less than 4 feet tall. I understand that there are other types that are taller and maybe even look slightly more like us. I've seen artistic representations of them. The ones that I've seen are more like this one. And it had skin that, gosh, in the dark, I don't know what I could say. I've seen them in the light, and the skin looked almost like a vanilla candle. It was kind of a little bit of a yellowish color, but there was also a kind of a glow, because these are very energetic beings. But it was a human-like body. Its head was not particularly extremely large by comparison to some of the other ones I've seen. It looked, a little bit more proportional to the body, and so it was almost like seeing a child. There was no hair. I didn't get a good look at the eyes, but I have seen their eyes at other times, and it's very hard to describe. It's like I haven't ever been able to discern what would look like a pupil or a color to the eyes, but it's like they're dark and light at the same time. It's the strangest thing. There's a beautiful energy of consciousness there, and yet I've never been able to discern a type of like a structure to the eye in the way that we have like colors and rings to our eyes. So yeah, I don't know what else I could say about it, except that I have seen them easily change back and forth between these sort of childlike forms to being just balls of plasma and pure living light. So they really are beings of light, and they also are very angelic in nature.
You also mentioned that you have had mostly positive experiences, yet the reputation from the masses is that extraterrestrials are evil, they're bad, they're trying to take over this world, they want to eat us for dinner, and a bunch of other really weird, strange adjectives to describe them. Why do you think you have had such positive experiences comparatively to people who have gone through hellish nightmares?
Well, I've had the full range of experiences, to be honest. So I have actually experienced the terrifying stuff. I have, in fact, had an experience where there was a group of ETs that wanted to abduct me against my will and try to take genetic samples, and I actually stopped it from happening. Through sheer force of will, I was able to counteract their technologies that were trying to basically disarm me and pull me into their reality and aboard one of their ships. And I've had other experiences with beings that were absolutely terrifying, that used fear and manipulation to try to control. But I would say if you had to put it into a spectrum, I would say about 80% of the types of beings in the spectrum of what we're having contact with are on the side of beings that really love and respect living worlds and respect our sovereignty, and they're either here to observe and not interfere, or they have some kind of non-interference policy. And then as you get closer to that dividing line between the 80% and the other 20%, you're getting closer to civilizations that are denser, that are a little more closely related to us, that have a similar kind of makeup. And when you cross that threshold and you get over onto the other 20% side, then you're dealing with beings that really live primarily in physical reality, and that many of them need resources for their technological civilization. Some of them have to travel great distances to acquire the resources they need for their civilizations because they've outstripped the resources of their own worlds. And when you deal with that part of the spectrum, then you're dealing with alien nations or extraterrestrial nations that some of them can be nefarious, some of them can be very self-interested and not have our best interests at heart. However, I really want to caution people not to project ideas of good and evil onto this whole spectrum. I think that does not give us the proper lens to integrate with the consciousness of what's out there. And there is a path to integrating with all of this. I consider myself somebody who's further along on that path, and you really have to do away with these ideas of duality. And you have to see that, for example, even these civilizations that are advanced, that might have an interest in our resources, that might be willing to, secretly make contracts.
Saryon, I'm gonna have to cut you off right there. We're gonna have to go to break. We'll continue this talk right when we get back. Saryon Michael White is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night. Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you want to visit Saryon's website, you just go to Saryon.com. That's Saryon, SARYON.com. I'm getting used to this new mute button here, bud. I'm getting used to it.
All right.
You know, I actually turned it on and then I clicked it off. How silly of that. That's my fault. I know my tech advisor, Amy, is going to be kicking my butt with that right now. But it's like, oops, my fault. My fault, but what do you do? What do you do? Yes. It's funny because we're on a delay here of about 10 seconds, and I just get a text message. Where are you? Where are you? You know, all of a sudden going into like Hulk Hogan type thing. I'm going to wrap my 24-inch pythons around you if you don't stop hitting that mute button and turning yourself off. You know, that kind of thing. That's kind of the way it goes around here. That's kind of the way it goes. But nonetheless, that is my snafu for the night. My snafu for the night. And then the message comes, you're right. You're right. I know I'm getting a fist shaking at me right now. I know I'm getting a fist shaking. But nonetheless, Saryon, we are, right before the break, we were talking about, your connection and how it has affected you and how it affects people, what it's like to actually see them. And start talking to aliens and your positive experiences, but you also mentioned you had some negative ones. When it comes to your own contact, how have you been able to handle these downloads, these stories or these notes or whatever they are providing for you in order to learn? How have you dealt with it?
Well, that's a very interesting question because I have, throughout this entire time, also had teachers in the form of ascended masters and angelic guides that have actually helped me to understand and process all of these things. And what's really interesting is I found out that the Archangel Michael, who so many people have heard of Archangel Michael, and many people have felt a connection with that particular being. Archangel Michael, as it turns out, is like the archangel of ET discernment. So this is the angelic being that actually is bringing us a lot of teachings and insights and awareness regarding our discernment of the extraterrestrial presence. So some of the experiences I've had, especially ones where I experienced something that was either a little bit frightening or a little bit violating of boundaries, or I needed to understand something that felt a little bit off. Archangel Michael was the one that showed up and helped me to evolve in my relationship to the types of beings that are more on that 20% side of the spectrum that don't always know how to even completely respect human sovereignty and not interfere in some regard. So, I've had some interesting experiences with that.
So when you see, I know I asked you right before the break about the negativity that is out there, but when you see people such as yourself having positive experiences, the free experiencers brought up by Dr. Edgar Mitchell's group, doing statistics where 84% of all contactees say they've had a positive experience. Where do you think, deep down, or just looking at the entire genre in general, where do you think this negativity comes from?
Well, I would say, based upon my insights into all of this, that we have to do the same thing with the extraterrestrial presence that we're learning how to do in human relationship dynamics, which is that, when you realize that quite a lot of what we think we are perceiving is projection. We're projecting our own fears onto things. We are filtering reality with our own beliefs and our own stories and experiences. And so we're learning to become conscious of our projections and to separate the projection from what's behind it, the reality of, the other person or the other being that's there, and to see without the lens of duality. But in order to do that, we have to practice a lot of awareness, self-awareness, and to realize that we attract a reflection of our own resonance. And this is actually what I was getting to with the whole spectrum of different kinds of energies that we're having contact with. When we look at it from the perspective of that we're attracting all of these things to us as a mirror of ourselves, if you follow that insight that we attract a reflection of our resonance, it makes a lot of sense. The full range of people that are having mostly positive experiences are attracting a reflection of their resonance for the most part. Sometimes people that have a tremendous amount of fear, or maybe they've got karma to work out with these types of experiences, they might attract a different kind of experience that they would label as negative. But if they realize that there's perhaps fear or negativity or resistance inside of them to opening up to a greater spectrum of reality, then it makes sense that they're being confronted by something that isn't there really to harm them, but to actually help them to process their own emotions. So there's all kinds of reasons that we attract the experiences that we do. And the example that I think is really important to consider is that the way that we relate to the Earth also has some bearing here. If we see the Earth's resources merely as commodities, the way our corporate culture does, and, if you can buy it, if you can own the lease to the land, if you can have the mining rights or whatever, then it's ours for our purposes to make money. If we keep having this ownership mentality, then we will attract, and we already have attracted, other alien nations and races that also view the Earth's resources as commodities that can be owned or traded, or that don't have a sacred purpose but only have uses in technology or as currency in a larger galactic system of trade. So is that what we really want? Do we really want to attract those types of energies here that know how to play the game of manipulation to gain access to resources way better than we do? Is that what we really want? Or do we want to really sanctify the Earth? Do we want to move out of an ownership mentality and into a stewardship mentality, so that we are only really aligning ourselves energetically with beings that love and protect living worlds and that respect human sovereignty?
So how does one get on that point, though? Because there's a lot of people out there, Saryon, and I'm sure you've heard the criticisms, who say, this is all made up in your imagination. This is just an overactive childhood that's extended into adulthood. Nobody's really in contact with ETs. It's just some sort of fallacy to bring attention to yourself.
Well, yeah, I find, all perspectives interesting. I think everyone is approaching this from many different angles of perception, and I think that there's going to be a point. I mean, I believe that I have foreseen this and see this coming, where we will cross a certain threshold in consciousness collectively where this greater reality will become undeniably real. So I don't really concern myself with people who think that it's all fake, or that it's people with an overactive imagination. There's a very old, very ancient form of denial in human consciousness that has very ancient roots. And that denial pattern in human consciousness, it's not just a denial of ETs. It's a denial of the angelic presence. It's a denial of the higher dimensions. It's a denial of it extends to everything, to nature, spirits, to anything that people are not able to perceive with their 5 physical senses according to the rules that they think that reality should subscribe to. And that denial pattern, whether people know it or not, affects their perception of reality. And so right now there's a host of people, there's a whole global population of people that live outside of that pattern, that have exited that paradigm of reality and live outside of it. And there's a whole massive population that still lives inside of that denial pattern. So, those of us that live outside of it are watching the denial pattern wane, and yet are patiently accepting that a lot of people are, they're choosing their own timing for how long they remain in what, is left of that denial pattern. But it's not just about ETs. It's really denial of a greater multidimensional reality that our souls come from and that we return to after we transition from our bodies. And we have lived in a state of disconnection from that greater reality. And it's just it's an evolutionary process that will take time for everyone to get there.
I can totally see that. But there's still a large fear base going on with that. And I got to tell you, as much as I have listened to people who talk about these downloads or these messages coming from aliens, I got a real hard time buying that. Maybe because it's never happened to me, or I've never been able to translate, or what have you, with all of my experiences personally. But I just can't imagine or figure out why somebody like you or me or Joe construction worker or Jill the nurse could get these downloads when we have no ability to change what they, the extraterrestrials, allegedly would like us to change.
Well, I think that we all have our roles, and we all are, like I said, approaching this monumental shift in planetary consciousness from different angles, and your position, your experience, your stance on all of this allows you to operate from a certain framework that is open-minded, and yet you can be skeptical at times. You can approach it all very humbly, with great interest. I would say that you have an insight, an innate inborn knowledge inside of you that allows you to discern whether or not you are hearing truth. Now, whether or not you take every piece of truth that resonates and file it away into something that is a certainty or something that is a curiosity, that's something that you reserve the right to be able to do that. But you have something that is just as valuable and meaningful and important as this, direct perception of, ET craft and things like that, because you have an access to the truth inside of you because you pay attention to what really resonates. And that is a spiritual form of consciousness, and it also cultivates over time. In my case, I signed up to be a conduit in a certain way so that I could bridge dimensions in my consciousness and I could bring in information for other people in a different way. So I in many ways, didn't see a lot of this coming. I had my own ideas about, what I wanted to do in my life as a writer, but I had no idea that I was going to be channeling people's spiritual guides for them, that I was going to be working in the way that I am now to teach people how to access these things within themselves. The good news is that these are skills that can be learned. You don't just have to be born with them. You don't. It's not just like winning the lottery ticket, and some people have it, and some people don't. It's true. Some people have an aptitude for these things. Some people have strengths that other people don't have. But one of the things I find really, really exciting about where the global shift in consciousness is going is that there is a capacity that is opening up inside of all of us to be able to absorb each other's strengths, to be more affected by the resonance of other people and their gifts, such that some of those gifts can pass on to us energetically. I've had experiences of this where, I was sitting in the room with somebody who had some type of a gift that, that wasn't my strength, but being in the same room with them, some of the resonance of their strength passed to me, from their aura to mine.
Right.
And it gave me a heightened sense of that particular ability. Now, it didn't last for very long, but I was in this one room with this guy, and he could see the colors of people's auras. Well, that's not my gift for the most part. I've had experiences of it, but this guy was really, really gifted in that way, and just being in the same room with him, I suddenly started to see the colors of people's auras. And I think it was because his gift was really strong, and so it passed really easily to other people that were sensitive. And then the other aspect of it is that I'm sensitive enough to pick up on it. But I think that is going to become more and more commonplace, that not only will we discover that we can drink in the strengths of other people and gain something from it and become something more, even adopting some of these things, but we will also become aware of how we can share our strengths with each other by sharing our resonance. And there's a whole new way of being, of communicating and being with each other, where we recognize that energetic level of connectivity, and we engage the flow of that connection between us, and we start to share things energetically that, eventually this is going to become a very profound, very meaningful practice in human society.
I understand that, and I realize, and I can, totally fathom the idea of trying to raise spiritual awareness to enhance everybody on the planet. However, there is the majority of society out there who says people like you and me are just a bunch of wingnuts. And they always ask for proof of this experience, proof that you were actually in contact, proof that this download did happen, and how can it help society? So when you get asked, where's your proof, what do you show them?
Well, it kind of depends on what level that we're talking about. If we're talking about extraterrestrial stuff, I really cannot prove any of my personal experiences. When you look at the larger body of evidence that's there, when you start to examine all of, for example, the military personnel that have come out as whistleblowers and talked about these things, and the evidence of things being caught on radar, and stuff that comes from the military itself, even just that particular body of evidence, it's overwhelming that there's something there. I mean, you really have to turn a blind eye to it at this point to continue to live in denial of it. And we just have to respect the choice of people that are choosing to do that. So I really don't even waste any time with people that are choosing that route. What I will say, though, is that I have people all the time come to me that are open-minded and receptive, and when I work with them, I'm able to facilitate them into an energetic experience of contact with their own guides that, for the most part, most of the people that I've worked with, it's very real to them, and they walk away feeling like, something happened there. So, I work with the people that are really sincerely interested in experiencing some type of an opening. Now, the other thing about skeptics, and this is, I think, an interesting thing to consider. If you look at the great diversity of consciousness out there, from, the Christians and Muslims and Hindus and atheists, but especially if you factor in, the atheists, the skeptics, the, agnostics, into the whole diversity. There is a way in which we are so diverse in our consciousness and, even very fragmented, but at the same time, there's a real freedom in human consciousness that allows that fragmentation from a greater wholeness, and that allows this incredible diversity to be there. And the strange and interesting thing about it is that is actually one of the things that is protecting humanity from being too heavily influenced and manipulated by some of the different types of civilizations that would like to take the reins of where this civilization is going and to mold us and shape us into something more uniform and easier to control. So humanity, as it turns out, is a very difficult animal to tame because of our diversity and because of how much we cling to that individual freedom to think for ourselves and to not be like other people. And so that's, in a way, a very good thing, even though certainly there's a dark side to that.
Right.
I was given this.
We only got about 30
insight.
seconds.
Sure. Well, it's just something really interesting to consider, that diversity is having an effect on how we are positioned in relationship to the challenge of ET contact.
And it's going to be very interesting going forward, especially with the younger generations that seem to be opening up more and more. It's us in the 40 and above crowd that are having real issues with this. So we just got to say, oh, well, leave it to the kids, man. Leave it to the kids. We are going to get to your questions and more coming up in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio as we head to our top of the hour break here. Saryon Michael White is our guest. Saryon.com is his website. We'll be back with more SOR right after this.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. a spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, paranormal author Rick Hale joins us to talk about some of the freakiest haunted locations. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, our new start time, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Flibbertigabit. Flibbertigabit is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you and more to come. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, you're going to be able to shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, and so much more. Tonight, we are talking with author Saryon Michael White, and he has a brand new book out. And I highly think you should check it out. Roya Sands and the Bridge Between Worlds. You can go online at Amazon and other online stores to pick this on up. Saryon's website is saryon.com. That's SARYON.com. Saryon, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Good. Hey, I want to get to a couple of our audience questions here, if you don't mind, right off the bat. Let's go to Uncle Dale here. He's got a really good mustache, so we always like to kick it off with him. And his question is, how do you know if something that calls itself an ascended master or angel actually is one?
That is a very good question. I would say that it might be important to go to some of the more trusted sources, like, we mentioned Archangel Michael, the Master Jesus. Those are two, for example, that, are an angel, an ascended master, if you view the Master Jesus in that way, and they can be kind of the clearinghouse. Mother Mary, for example. Everyone knows Mother Mary. Mother Mary is unmistakable, and that can also be, she can be a clearinghouse. If something is, you're not certain what it is, then you go to a more trusted source. I've had to do the same thing with extraterrestrial energies, where some extraterrestrial energies came and they seemed like they were good, and yet they were kind of offering things and kind of seeming like there was something a little bit off about their interest in wanting to work with me. And so I thought, this feels good. They feel like they have a good love vibration, but something's a little weird. And so, I go to Archangel Michael, and Archangel Michael says, there actually is something a little bit off here, and let me tell you what it is. So, I would say that is the best thing that I could recommend doing, because there are certainly many different types of energies out there, and it is important to have discernment, especially if you're not sure and it hasn't been established as a trusted source yet.
Do you have to be or have some sort of religion or understanding of religion to get that type of ascension?
No, I don't think so, because I approached all of this from a completely non-religious view. In fact, I said that I had this experience when I was 17 that was like an ET contact experience in a dream, but very shortly after that, I had an experience of the Master Jesus showing up in a dream. And, what they say is if, an ascended master shows up in your dream, it's not a dream. They really are there, making contact with you through your dream state. And in that experience, my very first words to the Master Jesus was, let me see you as you truly are, because I had been raised Catholic, and I realized that nothing had prepared me to understand the truth of who this being was. And so that was the moment that I broke through all of the images and concepts of Catholicism, which I had no attachment to anyways, and I was able to see just with the eyes of the soul the universal nature of this being that just simply cannot be contained. The love of this being can't be contained in any religion. So I don't think that you have to have religion as a background or a basis to necessarily understand any of this. In fact, I think a lot of times religion is getting in the way. It can be a helpful launching point. It is certainly a school for many people, but it's a school that I think that people are meant to graduate from at some point.
Right. Let's get to Gail's question. Gail is asking, does Archangel Michael actually appear to you?
Well, I have never seen Archangel Michael with my physical eyes. Most of the time when I'm having an experience of contact, it's happening through my inner vision. It's happening in an out-of-body state. So I have actually experienced Archangel Michael and Archangel Gabriel as well appearing to me while I was in an out-of-body state. And I could see them. And, for me, angels have mostly not had or appeared with wings. A lot of people ascribe wings to angels and have that particular view of them, but pretty much all of the ones that I've seen appear in a more of a human form without wings, and they're these beautiful glowing figures, sometimes just glowing with this very pure golden white light. And in the case of Archangel Michael, there is often a kind of a sapphire blue hue that comes in with the presence of that being.
Interesting. Mike is asking, Saryon, do you believe that the Vatican or other religious sects actually know any of this and are suppressing it to the public?
That's an interesting question. The Vatican in particular, I think that there are a lot of hidden agendas and secret societies that are connected in to the Vatican. I don't think that the Vatican is what it appears to be to many Catholics on the surface or outwardly. There's a lot of things that I don't know about it, but I certainly feel that there are a lot of dark secrets that are connected with that organization. And I certainly also think that there has been, over the centuries, I don't know where it's at now, but over the centuries, there absolutely has been suppression of historical facts and truths that they did not want getting out, like the bloodline of Jesus and things like that. So there have been people that have stewarded knowledge of such things down through the centuries, and in many cases, people who stewarded that knowledge faced great danger and peril for having that knowledge because of secret societies and organizations, some of which I believe have been connected to the Vatican, have been involved in trying to stamp out the truth.
Very, very interesting. I want to shift topics here because your latest book, and I'll let you describe it, starts to deal with kind of like the likes of alien and artificial intelligence and technology that surrounds it.
Yeah. Well, there is some things about about artificial intelligence in there. The thing that I actually feel is an even bigger thing to watch with great discernment is the coming forth of augmented reality. We could explore artificial intelligence because that's a pretty vast subject. There are many, many different forms of it. There are some forms that are being experimented with in secret, which the book touches upon that. But augmented reality, the idea of immersive technology that you wear that projects a digital overlay onto the physical environment, blending the two together. This is something that is being developed fairly widely now. There are many technology companies that are racing to develop the most innovative version of this, or the best possible platform. There's a lot of competition to create this, and there's going to be a lot of competition trying to get people to buy into this and to start to embrace a paradigm of augmented reality. And this is something that it has many dangers associated with it in terms of how this could impact our evolution over decades and over centuries, because we're basically looking at two different timelines. There's a timeline where we can evolve naturally and awaken the dormant potential of the brain through completely natural means, evolving collective consciousness, evolving telepathy, evolving remote viewing, being able to travel out of body, being able to expand our inner senses through a natural connection to the environment, to be able to read living knowledge and information from plants and trees and animals, and to be able to share knowledge as resonance with each other through fully awakened inner senses. There's a version of reality where we evolve as a spiritual culture, and the kind of electronic technology that we have now is a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone that has thus far helped us all become networked together enough that we can start to discover that our brains are capable of actually experiencing the world as if there is a living telepathic World Wide Web inside of us that eventually will eclipse the presence of and usefulness of the internet as we learn how to surf channels of living information inwardly and to communicate with each other as a collective group consciousness. So that's one pathway, a pathway where we cross a bridge into an experience of immersion with a planetary field that is of consciousness that is based on wholeness naturally and oneness with the earth. But there is another pathway that is competing with this, and it is a pathway that is being planned for us to lead us into a version of reality where we don't awaken these natural abilities, where we get distracted away from them by an experience of immersion with technology. So I want people to really take a look at this and to consider that what is being promoted when it comes to augmented reality is just the first phase of a multi-phase plan that is going to be rolled out over the decades to take us in another direction that actually changes our value system, changes the way our brains function, and makes us far less than what we can become, far less sovereign, far less conscious, and yet all the time people are going to believe that they are becoming something more through the technology. So that is one of the subjects that is explored in this book, and actually it's going to expand into elements of the whole series. But if people want to gain discernment that goes way, way beyond even what I'm saying here, it's all in the book. It's a revelatory teaching of discernment that is packed into an adventure story where you get to see these characters encountering these different realities and discovering that there's a lot more hidden behind the scenes that is starting to be revealed, and there's a lot of really interesting things to integrate with that have to do with us becoming more aware of our world and more aware of our responsibility to protect our world with our consciousness and with the way in which we hold consciousness and recognize what our true power is.
That sounds very, very George Orwell-ish in 1984, my friend.
Well, I would say that we are looking at a version of that where Big Brother is in the form of a headset that people are wearing all the time that literally gives corporations access to your thoughts, because your flow of attention is to some degree governed by the streams of media and information that are being fed into these devices that people are going to be wearing, that are sold on the belief that this is somehow the next step in human evolution, to become integrated with electronic technology.
A lot of people, including Elon Musk, are forewarning people about this. Yet we can't seem to slow it down. We can't seem to bring ourselves to want to not go to that next technical frontier.
Yep. Well, even though I talk about there being dangers to this and to the way in which we are being and could potentially be manipulated through these technologies, certainly they are playing a role already and will play a role for some time. The question is, are we going to adopt that as a culture-wide value system, to be immersed in it, to be entertained by it, to see it as the way that we are all going to connect with each other across the globe in the future and relate to each other through this technological experience? Or are we going to develop these technologies and use them for a time and see them fulfill some kind of a purpose that is very useful in our reality, but have a consciousness that directs our attention in some other way, away from a culture of total immersion in electronic technology and into an emerging state of natural connectedness that is beginning to arise within us. Now, that's the interesting thing, is that even though there is this new technological paradigm that is taking shape that could potentially distract us away from more natural evolutionary potentials, there is also certain kinds of fields of collective consciousness coming online. There are certain types of cosmic energy fields that are beginning to arrive. There are certain types of energies coming from inside the Earth, and there's a convergence of these natural forms of energy that are beginning to awaken us. And if we learn to pay attention to these kinds of energies, we'll find that we could potentially awaken and transcend that technological paradigm more quickly than it has the potential to capture us and entice us into this other timeline.
Right. I think there's a happy medium here, all right? Like, I think that if we can get programs and robotics together that can help people who are disabled walk again, or, right, people to see again who are blind, or hear again if they are deaf, or maybe cure some health issues, I am all for it. I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with, now they're starting to test out robots in restaurants to make dinners, like from fancy meals to flipping hamburgers. You know what I'm saying? I think that's scary when you start eliminating people's positions with robotics. I can understand in a manufacturing plant, but at a restaurant or, call centers or something along those lines, I think it's a real disservice. But that being said, we are in the infancy of a brand new technological age.
Yes.
I mean, and I don't think there is any way to stop the AI or the virtual reality from seeing where it goes.
Yeah, and like I said, these technologies do have a place in our society. They do have roles to play. They are going to bring about certain kinds of advancements and improvements. So I am not like an anti-artificial intelligence or anti-augmented reality person. The thing that concerns me as a planetary citizen is that we already have developed a certain kind of addiction or a culture of addiction when you look at all of the people that are absolutely addicted to video games, and then in a larger sense, the way in which we are very attached to our smartphones. When you look at the technological dependency and specifically the addiction to the entertainment aspect of that. To see that addiction potentially get transported into other levels of technology that once we become married to it, for a lot of people, it's like there's no going back. It becomes a part of them. We could go literally from one level of addiction to another, to another, to another over time. And it's when we value electronic forms of entertainment over the natural potential that we have to connect with each other, to connect with the hologram of the earth, to connect with spiritual guidance, for example, to connect with living energy. That's where there's a real challenge that we have to overcome as a society. It really comes down to our values. What kind of a value system is our society going to be based on? It's going to be based upon connection to each other through a field of consciousness and oneness, which our inner senses are only now beginning to awaken more and more to that. Or are we going to become entranced with electronic technology and remain addicted to it in a way that separates us until we can only really imagine unity with each other through a technological interface?
We got about 2 minutes left, or about 90 seconds before we have to go to a break here at the bottom of the hour. But I'm curious, with that, is it just human nature to be fearful of this, or is there a real concern?
Well, that's what I hope to explore in this series, and it's a very good question because there are different generations that will relate to this differently. Some will have fear of change, and what I'm talking about is not fear of change. It is discernment coming from the perspective of really living a different kind of experience of interconnectedness with the world that is not based upon technology. And it's something that I value and many people value. And it's not something that is of the past. It is something that holds the potential of a new dawn in human consciousness.
Still scares the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea why, but I guess I saw Terminator and what happens. I don't need a T-800 Series 101 coming up to me and saying, "Where's Sarah Connor?" I don't need that. I do not need that. I don't know. Yeah. This stuff, literally, I find it freaky. I really find it freaky.
I'm glad you brought up the robots making food because I had a very special message put into the early chapters of this book that's all about the value of putting love into the food that we make.
Exactly. And on that note, Saryon, you hold on. We're going to step out for our break at the bottom of the hour. More Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this with Saryon Michael White.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
It's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Welcome back to tonight's show on Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Really appreciate you doing that. Tonight, we were talking with author Saryon Michael White. Saryon.com is his website, SARYON.com. We're talking a little bit about AI technology, robotics, virtual reality. Where is this leading to the future? Is it going to be 1984? Are we going to have Terminator robots coming around in about, 2036? Just around the corner, Saryon, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Do you fear AI or robotic technology?
No, I don't fear it, because I actually think that the arc of transformation that we are actually in is one where we may come to the threshold of potentially, going down a pathway that could become more limiting to our freedom. But I actually think that we're going to meet those challenges and evolve our consciousness in the process. And I also tend to think that if we really, really came close to losing it, there would be something that would course correct us. I like to think that that's what would happen. And I also think things like climate change and the fact that we are really using up our resources at a pretty frightening pace is going to bring us to a point where we have to come together. We have to realize our potential through unity consciousness to solve the world's problems. And once we get to that point, we are going to see some incredibly successful new organizing principles in society just take off like wildfire. And we're going to start to become more peaceful. We're going to become more generous. We're going to see wealth distributed more evenly. And I think that there's some very profound positive new changes in consciousness that are going to spread like wildfire. And we're so close to realizing some of these potentials.
Well, we'll see where it goes. I mean, the only thing we can do is live on the fly when it comes to this, man. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, the technology is not going to stop. The inventions are not going to stop. I mean, you don't want to shut people down by saying, hey, well, you've gone a little bit too far. No, there's too much to correct. There's way too much to correct.
Yep.
And if somebody builds a Terminator robot in the meantime and in between time, well, I guess that's the just desserts of it.
Yep. Well, I like to think that we each have much more power to create our reality and to choose the timeline and to manifest on a much larger scale than we realize, because most of the time I think most people walk around thinking that their thoughts are not very powerful or influential, that their presence doesn't interact with the entire world hologram, and that we're only really creating reality on a very small scale. But I think that when you realize that there's tremendous power and influence inside of us, that we are all broadcasting a frequency that contains our values, the ways in which we focus our attention, our beliefs, our consciousness, the way we perceive the world, and we're broadcasting that as a frequency into the world, and it's having an influence. When you realize that potential, you realize that you have a sacred influence, that what you think, what you choose within yourself, what you value matters. And so when you look at your values as a broadcast going out to the universe that can have an impact on the world, then you can choose your reality on a global scale. You can choose to focus on the unity consciousness. I mean, you can choose not to as well, but there's tremendous power and tremendous creative energy that flows through you when you focus on the unity consciousness reality, because there is an incredible spiritual energy that backs that up and that amplifies our focus of intention when we align with the most unifying focus and the most unifying principles of creation with each other.
So in your research then, how do you define the fine line between humans coming together with consciousness in the age of robotics and AI technology?
Well, AI technology there's many different forms of it. And there are forms of it that I wouldn't even consider true artificial intelligence. It's just very clever programming. It's not a living intelligence. It doesn't have consciousness to it. But then there are other forms of it that are being experimented with that perhaps do have intelligence or do have some form of consciousness to it. And the real challenge here is the secrecy. As long as there is secrecy surrounding some of these innovations and inventions, then there's danger. As long as there are special interests that can operate in the dark, then there is a threat to our freedom and sovereignty. So, how do we influence that reality? How do we influence that with our thoughts? How do we share consciousness and align consciousness with creating a new reality when some of these things already exist behind the scenes and are having an influence or are being planned as some form of control for us later on, if that's being experimented with? Well, I think it all comes down to the secrecy and the fact that we're not really truly victims of the secrecy. That wall of secrecy only exists because we have been in denial of what's behind it. We've been in denial of these other realities that are being experimented with. We've been in denial of the real power that we have, even the power to create technologies that are dangerous. Human beings have been afraid of our power in many different ways. So we have to really own that power. We have to stop being afraid. We have to embrace the fact that we are connected to a source of creative power that comes from the soul. And what's really happening in this awakening is that we are turning back to the presence of our own souls, and we are remembering the tremendous power that once sourced our thoughts and our consciousness in other ancient times, like in Atlantis, for example, before we started to abuse that power and use it against each other. There's very ancient fears and an ancient denial of that greater form of spiritual power inside of us that we are in the process of transcending and releasing our fear of. And until we release that fear and we're willing to consider the awesome power of the soul itself, then there are technologies, there are experiments in consciousness that are going to continue to be veiled and kept secret from us as long as we are still turning our backs on the true power of our own souls.
So with consciousness, are more people awakening to this new future, or are they just opening up to its infancy as well, as we are still in the infancy of the robotic era?
Yes. Well, there's an awakening happening on many different levels. I actually think that part of this awakening is a very specific shift in the way that we perceive time. So we have mostly perceived time linearly. But at a certain point, more and more people are going to cross this threshold where we start to see time as a loop. And we see that there are various feedback loops coming from different timelines, from different futures, that are feeding back and are informing us of what our choices are in a larger, more multidimensional way. And that will allow us to experience connections with our future selves on down these different timelines. And at that point, it's going to start to become very clear what our choices are. So, books like this book that I've written, Roya Sands and the Bridge Between Worlds, is about that experience of becoming aware of the different timelines, of developing the discernment, of becoming conscious of it, and then learning what to actually do with that knowledge, especially when it seems like we're all very disempowered to the elite and the imbalance of the distribution of wealth. What do we really do with all of this knowledge once we do awaken? And it looks like the deck is still stacked against us. That's the kind of things that the heroes of this story are figuring out so that they can be representatives of what we are beginning to figure out within ourselves.
I want to switch gears here, if you don't mind. And I want to get into the channeling aspect of extraterrestrials. This is something you have been doing for a long, long time. First off, for our audience, could you break down what channeling really is?
Sure. Channeling for me is an experience of allowing a multidimensional consciousness of some other being that is not necessarily connected to a physical body. Although I have had experiences of channeling consciousness from living masters that do have a physical body, but this is an experience of allowing a blending of consciousness. It's not a takeover, and in many cases there's no loss of consciousness. It is a blending and a sharing of consciousness where a higher, wiser, and more loving even multidimensional being is able to guide and direct the flow of thought through you, either to reflect and convey their own thoughts or to help you put your thinking into a more coherent sequence of thought that reflects higher wisdom. So there's, I think, two different aspects of this. There's channeling the consciousness of some other frequency of intelligence that is showing up as a spiritual guide. And then there's also the way that these higher beings are, in a way, helping you to channel your own higher self and to access things inside of you that are coming more from your divine nature. So you can start out and have your mind kind of all over the place, and then have one of your guides help you to find a focus on channeling a source of divinity inside of you, so that it's not all coming from them. There is no us and them. There is just a blending and sharing of consciousness with a source of intelligence and frequency that is a part of us, but is not always in phase with our earthly expression. But all of these beings, they're all aspects of us in a different form. When you look at the consciousness of the universe as a hologram, at a certain point you see that there's no inferiority or superiority in the hologram. It's all one holographic whole, and we're just reflecting different aspects of it in our consciousness. That's what channeling is.
How do you know you're actually connecting to an extraterrestrial or a higher ascended being?
Well, I've gotten to know these beings over time. For me, there was an introduction process. It started with the Master Jesus, and Jesus came in and basically let me know that he was going to be standing by my side as I began to explore and expand into these other connections. And so then I began to have experiences with ETs, and the Master Jesus was teaching me discernment about the ones that were showing up with agendas that wanted to try to mislead me as a, at that stage, a fairly undiscerning person. And then I got to see that, that there was a spectrum of consciousness. And I learned discernment very, very quickly with the aid of guides like the Master Jesus. And then eventually my experiences expanded to connect with other masters, first ones that were very familiar, like Mother Mary, but then it expanded into a full range, and they kind of introduced them to me. The ones that I knew and were familiar with introduced others. And it kept expanding out until, for example, I recently went to India, and my journey to India was being overlit by a group of about 30 different Hindu masters, some of them considered gods and goddesses in the Hindu religion, but to me they were showing up as spiritual masters and spiritual guides. And they were, to me, not anything different than many of the ascended master guides that I have come to know that come more from a Western orientation of our familiarity with such beings. So, they've gradually introduced more and more to me over time, and it has been a process of discerning and just getting to know their vibrations.
So when they communicate with you, how do they do it? Do they all of a sudden, ring the doorbell inside your head and say, it's time to talk, we need to unload some information on you? And I don't mean that to sound sarcastic, okay? I'm just trying to figure out how it happens.
Well, I'll tell you something about my experience of this. When I am walking around the average day, I feel like my awareness is pretty normal. I don't feel like I'm super psychic or anything. I don't feel like I have this incredible great range of access just in the normal waking state. I need to meditate in order to relax enough to allow something in, because normally my mind is thinking about work, thinking about people I need to email, thinking about all kinds of stuff that is totally normal. And so I have to do the same thing that that any normal person would to access an altered brainwave state. I have to practice. I have to use meditation as a tool. But I find that when I relax, like before I got on the call with you for this show, I went and I took a shower. I laid down on my bed. I relaxed, and I tuned in to just feel what guidance wanted to show up to be shared. And it took a little while to allow the distractions to get out of my mind. But then there was this clarity that came in, and I just felt a clarity, a sense of purpose that was being reinforced by my guides. And it wasn't necessarily, a direct word-for-word clairaudient experience. Sometimes just merely a suggestion of a subject or an awareness comes in, and it just speaks volume.
Did we lose you? I wonder if we lost him. I think you cut out there, Saryon. You cut out there for a quick second.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now.
Okay. Now. Not sure what happened. Anyways,
we like to blame the aliens for that.
Yeah,
aliens.
Maybe there was some alien interference.
Yes. Yes.
But anyways, I was just saying that when you spend enough time with the knowledge of these guides, sometimes just a little tiny suggestion from them speaks volumes, and you kind of know what you need to know without needing to get some big download. Yeah.
What does a download feel like? As we got about 2 minutes before we got to go to our top of the hour break.
Okay, well, for me, a download feels like sometimes a gentle current of energy, and sometimes I could be like doing something, I could be cleaning the house, I could be working on my computer, and I suddenly get this feeling of both a current of energy that's energizing, but then there's almost a feeling of tiredness that tells me I need to kind of shut the mind down and go into a no-mind state. And so I'll go and I'll lay down, and I'll suddenly start to get this this information just flowing into me, and an awareness, and then sometimes I'll hear words, I'll get images, and I'll get a download. And then after about 15 minutes, I come out of it, and I've just got this brilliant new idea. A lot of times it happens that way.
Can anybody do it? Does anybody get them? Why do some people get them and some don't?
I think, well, there's too many factors to go into with that, but I think anyone can do it, and I often will teach people to try this practice of taking what I call an angel nap, where you ask the angels to wrap you in a blanket of angelic love and to give you a healing session, and then you give thanks, you maybe will say a prayer of protection, and you lay down and relax as if you're receiving a Reiki session, but you're getting it from the angels instead of from a physical healer. And when people ask for that experience, very often they start to feel the sensation that there is a current of energy flowing around them.
Wow. Wow. I mean, like I said, I've had a ton of experiences, and I don't know if I've ever had a download, and I'm feeling kind of ripped off, Saryon. I really am. And we only got about 20 seconds here. But honestly, I feel ripped off because I would like to experience it so that way I can understand it a little bit more to help our audience understand it more.
Sure, yep.
And it just doesn't feel natural. Doesn't feel natural. You know, maybe I'm too, maybe I do have an aversion to peak woo or something like that. I'm not really too sure. Mm-hmm. I'm really not. But we're going to find out more about channeling and with ETs coming up in hour number 3 with Saryon Michael White. Saryon.com is the website. You got to check him on out. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social media freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us as we inch closer to Halloween. Tomorrow night on the show, paranormal author Rick Hale will join us to talk about some freaky locations. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. All of our archives are free for you to listen to at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey a favor and hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Flibberty Gibbet. Flibberty Gibbet is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You could rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store. Now, the new store is coming up in... I'm hoping to have it up here in about a week to 10 days. So just be prepared, because we're going to have a plethora of really cool items for you. And our SOR Newswire, our news section, you can check that out as well. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Saryon Michael White. He is the author of the brand new book. You can go on Amazon and get it. It is called Roya Sands and the Bridge Between Worlds. Real interesting story, getting 5-star reviews all over the place. Saryon.com is the website. Saryon, welcome back.
Thank you very much, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to connect people to this book. It's really a fascinating, divine blueprint that came together to put this out into the world, and I'm really, really excited for people to discover it.
I got a question from Dale right off the hop here. He is asking, doesn't Jesus, angels, Archangel Michael, ascended masters, and such have better things to do than deal with individual humans and their problems?
Well, as I understand it, these beings, they exist outside of the framework of linear time, and they're able to be many places at once. So there's no limitation in their consciousness for their ability to interact with quite literally millions and millions and millions of people at the same time. We can't even really fully comprehend the way that the consciousness multidimensionally of these beings work. But that whole question kind of, to me, it sounds like it comes a little bit from within that framework of linear time, like, we think about, all the things that are important to us and all of the things that we don't have time for, other people's needs and, because we've got better things to do sometimes than to, worry about what everybody else wants. And, when we project that onto those types of beings, it doesn't really allow us to see how unlimited they are in their framework and their ability to interact with really an uncountable number of energies that they are interested in serving, like us, like each of us individually.
Question coming in from Twitter from Andrew in North Vancouver, BC. Saryon, what do you think of the Messiah effect? The idea that those who believe they're receiving special knowledge, whether by a visitor, a dream, or download, having a mission to save humanity. How do you guard against this possibility?
I think that is something that we certainly, need to be concerned about. People that are having that kind of experience in their consciousness of thinking that they're here to save the world, or especially when somebody has experienced an opening in their channel. Their abilities have opened up. Maybe they've had some form of contact, but they don't have any discernment yet. And so they can develop a messiah complex, and sometimes there are astral beings and interfering beings that like to feed that story inside of people. I've seen it before. I've seen it decades ago. I've seen it just this year. People developing this kind of messiah complex. And I think that until we progress further into an experience of collective awakening, then we're still going to have people having these kind of individual awakenings that have a lot to learn about, their place in all of it.
Interesting. So let's get over back to channeling here for a minute here, or a few minutes here. When you are channeling, you obviously do some sort of meditation to kind of relax your mind and just let the messages come in. Do they come into you via text that you're reading it, or is it a voice that you are translating? How does it work for you?
I have it happen in all kinds of different ways. There are some times when it's like I'm reading from an invisible book, almost like somebody's holding a book up to my inner vision and I'm reading it. There are other times when I will hear the words telepathically and I'll start to relay them, and then our frequencies match together, and then it's like I'm more sort of channeling it spontaneously, not hearing it first, then speaking it out. So it happens in all kinds of different ways.
Does it affect you physically?
I sometimes, if I go into a deep enough trance state, I can literally feel like my vibration is going up and up and up incrementally, but it almost feels like I'm lighter. There's something that changes. My spine becomes more straight. My posture changes, and I become able to hold that posture for long periods of time, whereas when I'm not in a trance state with these currents of energy flowing through me, I tend to start to feel a little tired. I want to slouch over. But when these energies are in, it's like I just kind of straighten up and I'm able to stay in that place for a long time.
Do you know who's coming through?
Yes. Yep. Although I do often channel guides that I have no conscious awareness of having met before, particularly when I do private sessions for people. People come to me and I channel their spiritual guides for them, and often I'm the person that people come to be introduced to who some of their guides are. And in that process, sometimes a guide will come in that I've never consciously channeled before, and so sometimes it takes a little bit longer. There's a process of pairing energies and of sort of developing a bit of a handshake to, get used to each other. I have to get used to their frequency. They have to get used to my nervous system because it's all new. But I've started to become better and better at doing that, of actually channeling a guide that is unfamiliar to me. But I trust the process because whoever's coming through, they're not able to come through to me unless they are coming through the clearinghouse of the angelic presence that works with me and protects me as a channel. So I have never worried about something coming through that wasn't supposed to be there, because I align with the angelic presence first, and then everything comes through that level and that protected portal of communication.
But to play devil's advocate here for a second, no pun intended,
sure,
there are a lot of people out there who will say you really don't know what you're bringing in, because on the spiritual side, there are negative entities out there that could be playing games with the human level.
That is true. There are entities that get involved with people who are undiscerning. I happen to have a very high level of discernment because I was given discernment training by the Ascended Masters and experienced at different times, this is 20 years ago, various forms of interference so that I could become aware of what that looks like and feels like and, what the agendas are so that I could easily be able to tell if something like that was in my field. But my field is very clear from having practiced deep meditation for many, many years of my life, meditating with familiar guides that were constantly attuning my channel to be aligned with frequencies of Ascended Master consciousness that operate in my field as an overlighting force. So I'm very good at discerning energy, and I also feel very protected in what I'm doing.
When you talk about the frequency that they are talking to you on, can you define that a little bit more, please?
Well, it's a frequency of very pure love and light. You can feel that there is a very pure intent to serve unconditionally, in the same way that you would experience the warmth of a mother's love. You feel a kind of a divine embrace, like you're being hugged energetically in a very gentle way, and it feels familiar, it feels safe, it feels comforting. I am learning, actually, as a channel, to allow more of the emotional energies and the emotional nuances of these different Ascended Master personalities to come through, because in the beginning I channeled more from the mind. I was very mental. I wanted to bring through information, and over time the Masters have helped me to open the emotional body so that I can carry more of the flavor of their expressions and energies of love in the transmission of their consciousness, which allows more of what they really have to offer to come through.
So when you have one of these transmissions come through, what do the messages say?
Well, I'd like to share a little bit of something that
Sure.
is coming through right now. So, I meditated
Let's do it.
before the call, and I asked, is there something that wants to come through? And interestingly, the first guide that showed up was St. Francis of Assisi. Now I have to laugh because, talked about Jesus and Archangel Michael, and these are all things that come from, that are associated with Catholicism, but I swear this has nothing to do with Catholicism. St. Francis of Assisi, is a guide to anyone that wants to receive from the gifts of that particular guide. He's associated with a religion, but he really has no religion on the other side. But St. Francis of Assisi came in and actually wanted to share and wanted me to relay a message about ET contact, which we don't normally think of St. Francis as having any connection with the subject of ETs. But St. Francis wanted us to understand that in order to contact the most spiritually advanced beings, beings like the Arcturians, that the way to do that has less to do with figuring out how to extend our consciousness into those other dimensions and more to do with becoming married to the consciousness of the Earth's animals. Because when we are able to focus on that living connection with the consciousness of the animals, then we can start to experience the value system of these higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings that care about the Earth's animals in a certain way. And when we start to care about them in the same way, it creates a frequency match. So I just want to tune into this for a moment.
Sure.
There's something that he
Fire it
was
up.
saying about this. Thank you for this opportunity. There is a very profound change that is taking place that is becoming more and more noticeable. And I invite each of you to explore this awareness with me as a guide to this new kind of human experience. I am your beloved St. Francis, and I am here to support the opening of a bridge in your consciousness. Right now, the incoming energies of oneness are not just impacting and connecting together more and more human beings. This field of consciousness is also amplifying the consciousness of the animals. Imagine the auric field of an ant or a spider. It might be very small at a certain stage, but as these energy fields increase in the world, they are amplifying the auric field and the presence of living intelligence in these tiny creatures, so that their auric field expands, so that a field of global consciousness is expanding from inside of all of the Earth's animals and even the tiniest of creatures. So as this process unfolds and these auric fields expand and coalesce, they are forming a kind of network that wants to reconnect with humanity in a way that you once experienced anciently. There is a part of the human blueprint that has been very dormant and is beginning to reawaken. It is an ancient bridge into the natural world. And so allow yourselves to experience the presence of many of these animal forms which are becoming more conscious than they were before. They are awakening to their ability to allow this bridge to form, and they are beginning to focus in a collective way upon those who are open to receive this activation inside the human chakra system. You can imagine meditating and allowing yourself to receive the gaze, the spiritual presence, and the intelligence of many different animal forms, all sharing their vision of you as one who is awakening to this reconnection experience. So I will be with those of you that choose to engage the flow of this bridge. And you may find that there are times where you are guided into a state of connection with an animal, with an insect. It could be a pet, it could be a wild animal, but you will find that this bridge of connection wants to strengthen. It wants to open new doorways of perception. And your connection to the animals can take on an entirely new form of human experience. You will also find, as was also mentioned, that as you begin to see these beings as your equals, and your companions in the evolution of consciousness, you may draw to yourself the presence of various extraterrestrial energies that have a deep understanding of this aspect of humanity's transformation as they have lived it on their own worlds. And you may find that this new way of relating to the animals consciously and as your equal companions is in part a gateway into a state of connection and contact with many other living worlds that value the Earth's animals as keepers of sacred knowledge. So I thank you for receiving this. And you have many Arcturian brothers and sisters that are also listening into how this communication is being received. And they may also have something to say to you to add to this experience as it begins to open, so that you experience a galactic companionship as you take on this new form of awareness that is very common in other parts of the galaxy and on other worlds. I thank you for this opportunity. Many blessings to all of you. Namaste.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you. That transmission, I felt kind of pregnant with it the whole interview, and so I'm glad we had an opportunity to get to that at the end.
Oh, no problem. No problem, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
As we got about 3.5 minutes left here. When you go through something like that, how do you transition from the messenger to back to normal, like it's all of a sudden shut off?
Well, I still feel the vibration of it around me and inside of me energetically, so I still feel the presence of the guide, but I switch modes of consciousness pretty easily and pretty quickly nowadays. You could hear that my voice started to change a bit kind of in the middle of the transmission. That was more of the flavor of that particular being coming in, and I was carrying a little more of the characteristics of the personality and the way their voice sounds, at least through me anyways. So, it's a process of your brainwave state shifting in and out of different states of consciousness that, when they're familiar to you, then you can move in and out of them very easily.
I remember the first time I channeled. It was kind of my first experience, real true experience into this entire genre. And I didn't even know what channeling was at that time. But when you wake up in the morning after a channeling session, a lot of people feel tired, like they haven't slept, or they feel, body pain, especially in the neck and shoulders area. Do you get physical, almost like a dehydration or physical pain the next morning?
No. That only happened to me the very first time that I ever channeled. And the being that came in, it caused a pinching of the muscles all up and down my back, and pinching in a way that I couldn't even flex my muscles to do what was being done to me through this experience. But as this guy came in, all these muscles got pinched, and it was kind of an uncomfortable experience the first time it happened. But it has never happened that way since. And I also really don't sleep very much. I sleep very, very lightly and only for a couple hours a night.
Right.
So I actually, kind of am wide awake quite a lot of the time, and I don't ever feel, hungover from the experience.
Awesome. My friend, we only got about a minute left with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and what a pleasure it has been to have you back on the air with us. Tell us where people can find your books, your website, and when book number 2 will be coming out.
Well, you've been saying Saryon.com. I also have RoyaSands.com. That's ROYASANDS, RoyaSands.com, the name of the main character. And so you can go there. You can find the book there as well. There's links to every possible place you could possibly get it. And there's lots of other things that you can listen to and check out. I'm really, really excited for people to become connected to this story. It's book 1 of 4, and I am working on the second book now, and I'm very passionate about getting it out there as soon as possible. I'm not going to predict when that's going to happen, but when I finished the first one, I had this commitment that I will not let this year finish until it's done, and I'm kind of doing that this next year.
We got to exit, my friend. Thank you so much, Saryon. Olaf Phillips with the SOR News coming up right after this break on SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world.
bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio as we are in the home stretch tonight, and we bring in Olaf Phillips from Paranoia magazine. It's always nice when he has his own theme song. This is how it ends. Always with Mr. Olaf Phillips, editor of Paranoia magazine, as it's time once again where we get into the weird, the strange, and the WTF with the SOR News. He's also the president of Team Stump, because you all know how much we believe in Team Stump around here. Absolutely. Mr. Olaf Phillips, how you doing, brother? Where'd you go? Did you put your microphone on mute, Olaf?
No.
Oh, weird. We were
I'm
like,
not,
hey.
I'm not on.
We were like, hey, where are you? Where are you?
I'm right
Olaf.
here. I'm in a
Olaf.
I'm
Olaf.
in an interdimensional vortex.
You just had a time slip, didn't you? That's what that was.
I had a massive. It was a time slip. I'm 5 minutes ago.
Nice. Can
I tell you?
Very
Can I tell
good.
you? Can I tell you a story before I do the news?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
So I have a podcast, the Paranoia podcast, and we interviewed a guy named Dr. Richard Allen Miller. And it was probably the craziest interview we've ever done. And he was he was talking about doing research when he worked for the Navy. And he researched weird stuff. And I made the mistake of asking him, I guess mistake is relative. He said, what's the weirdest thing you've ever researched? And he said, well, there was this time when we went out and found this random head in the Everglades. And I'm like, okay, random head in the Everglades? He's like, yeah, it was a woman's head in the Everglades. I said, okay, well, that's kind of weird. He goes, oh, no, that's not what's weird. I said, well, what's weird? He goes, she died 3 hours later. And I hold on a minute. She died 3 hours later. He says, yeah, she died 3 hours later. I said, well, did she have her head when she died 3 hours after you found her head in the Everglades? He goes, yeah, it was still connected. And I said, what the blankety blank blank? And he says, yeah, the weirdest thing. I said, well, what happened? I mean, how did it happen? He goes, oh, I don't know. I just found her head in the Everglades, and she died 3 hours later with her head attached while I was holding her head in the Everglades. And I'm like, okay. He thought it was some sort of time slip or something.
That is totally weird, dude. totally bloody weird. That is almost grotesque. Almost
True story.
grotesque.
True story.
That gives me the heebie-jeebies. There's nothing more gross than that.
No, totally not. I mean, her head, Everglades, she dies 3 hours later with her head still attached. Her head's at two places at once. I don't know how that works, but there you go.
Man.
You ready for the news?
Let's get to the news, my friend. I think I need some after that.
Tolan man faces charges for shooting a ghost. A Tolan man who claims to be a paranormal investigator faces charges after being arrested for firing several shots in a house in an attempt to kill a ghost.
Nice.
How's that for weird?
Did he get the ghost? Or how stoned was he?
Well, we know about the guy who was on meth who thought he had an axe in his head.
That's true. That's true. What kind of methamphetamine was he on to produce the fact that he thought he could shoot and kill a ghost?
It does not say. It literally, the news article literally just says he was arrested for firing shots inside of a house, trying to kill a ghost. There's no other part of the story. That's all there was.
Oh, man. I don't know where to go with that one. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, so the guy's a paranormal investigator.
On a ghost hunt.
On a ghost hunt, this happened.
Well, I'm assuming.
I really don't know.
I don't know. He apparently, I'm assuming because he was shooting at a ghost. So I'm assuming he was on a ghost hunt of some sort, and obviously he went in there armed. He decided to shoot the ghost. I don't know.
What was he charged with?
He gets illegal discharge of a firearm.
That could have been very, very dangerous, my friend. Very dangerous. Let's move on to story number 2.
Authorities nab suspected serial diaper dumper. This is from ABC News. Authorities say they've captured a man suspected of dumping his grandson's soiled diapers along several New Jersey roadways over the past year. Franklin Township Police say an officer acting on a hunch spotted 68-year-old William Friedman leaving a load of diapers in the area of routes 47 and 40 around 3:15 a.m. Sunday, and he was taken into custody after a traffic stop. Friedman allegedly told police the diapers came from his grandson, adding that leaving them around town without getting caught almost became a game. Authorities said a motorcyclist crashed in June after running over a diaper Friedman had allegedly dropped. The cyclist suffered minor injuries and his bike was totaled.
Oh, the poor guy. I mean, you know what? If you're on a
wait a minute. Hold on.
Okay.
Here's the punchline. Friedman has been charged with interference with transportation, and he faces up to $1,000 in fines.
Well, how do you explain to people when they see the scars and the scabbing on you from your motorcycle accident and you say, yeah, I rolled over a piece of poo? You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I hit a diaper. If there isn't more of a sign out there, and I realize, that riding a motorcycle is dangerous at the best of times.
Very.
And I got a lot of friends who do it. I don't have a motorcycle because of the fact that I got a really screwed up equilibrium. And as much as I've always wanted a motorcycle, it's really, really not conducive to my safety, but more so the safety of other people if I drive. So that's the reason why I don't have a motorbike. But I love motorcycles. They're gorgeous pieces of art. And I understand the dangers, but I mean, the embarrassment that goes along with saying, yeah, I wiped out on a diaper.
I don't know. I'd own it. I'd be like, yeah, dude, I hit a diaper and totaled my bike.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
No, you hit a diaper. Oh, yeah. I hit a diaper. I totaled my bike on a diaper, totally. Yeah.
How do you sell that? How do you sell that to the insurance companies, though? How did this happen, sir?
A police report? I don't know.
I hit a dirty diaper. My goodness.
I hit a dirty diaper and I skid all over the freeway and lost it.
Yeah.
It gets better. I got another one. It gets better.
All right, let's hear it, man.
This comes from Fox News. Don't dress up your chickens on Halloween, CDC says. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has asked chicken owners to avoid committing a party foul this Halloween by dressing up their domestic livestock. The Atlanta-based CDC said costumed chickens out for a night of trick-or-treating run the risk of infecting people with a particularly potent strain of salmonella. Thank you, Fox News.
If you have a flock of chickens coming up to your door trick or treating, I tell you, if that happened to me and I got like 8 birds there, I'm finding something to. No way, man! I'm finding something to give them to them. That's impressive. That is impressive. I'm not worried about bird flu or salmonella or anything like that. I'm more concerned of getting a picture with 8 chickens in costumes and trying to figure out in my house what I have that they can eat. That's what I want. I want that to happen on my doorstep on Halloween night.
That's a good point.
How do you do? But on the flip side, what kind of human being sews Halloween costumes for chickens?
I'm not sure. I just report the news, man. I don't know.
I get that.
Too much thinking tonight.
Okay, I get that, but I mean, who does that?
I can't even comprehend. I have no idea.
And you know, there's
some on my priority list.
You know, there's some company out there who's making these things, and they're actually making money off of it. That's the sad part.
Oh, for sure. Totally. It's a growth industry, I'm sure.
This is where I shake my head at society when people are dressing up chickens for Halloween. I hurt for society when things like this happen, man. I really do.
I feel like a mushroom.
And the fact that the government, the local government, has to...
Federal government.
Or the federal government has to issue a press release or a story on this makes it even more absurd. Well, it doesn't matter. The outlet, the outlet doesn't matter.
It's the national outlet. It's the damn CDC. I mean, these people are top virologists in the entire country. I mean, it is the Center for Disease Control. The fact that they had to release a statement reminding people not to dress their chickens up for Halloween and take them trick or treating.
I hear you. I wonder if Everett would dress up his peacock. Everett, Everett, our former news guy.
Yeah.
I wonder if he would dress up his peacock. He's got a couple of peacocks that hang out at his place. I think he would. I could see him doing that. I could see him
dress
doing
them up
that.
as pirates.
Yeah, pirate peacocks. That would be kind of cool.
Little pirates
with eye patches.
With eye patches.
Let's get to the thought of the day, shall we?
Let's do it.
Thought Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we post a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, and then we read your responses because we love the audience responses to put on the air right here on the mighty SOR. So today's Thought of the Dave is as followed. Do you think we can channel communication with aliens? If so, how? Olaf, what do you think? Do you think you can channel aliens?
Ooh, gosh. Maybe. I mean, there is the Philip K. Dick Vallis thing, where he believed that an alien probe in orbit around the Earth bathed him in pink light and downloaded information into his brain. So I guess, it's possible. Yeah.
I think it's possible, too. But, these downloads I don't get. The downloads I don't get. Yeah. Totally, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have to ask yourself what's going on. I mean, it definitely changes your worldview when you think to yourself, well, there are UFOs up there in orbit that pick one person out of 370 million in the United States and go, that's the guy. Let's download esoteric information into his brain. It makes you wonder.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Let's get to some of the audience responses, shall we? Let's start over at Twitter, where Mr. Lulz says, geez, the primitive minds. They are extra-dimensional beings, also known as the fallen, mistakenly called Nephilim or shadow demons. They are neither, nor are they from another planet. They are from a realm of another frequency. Sheesh. Something tells me he's not a believer that aliens are good or aliens are bad or whatever, man. I don't think he's buying it. I do not think he is buying it at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, let's move on here. Let's move on. Where are we here? WGAFA over in the UK. I don't know who names their child Wagafa. Just a bunch of capital letters. But she says, ooh, that's a good one. Yes, but you might have to already have a psychic ability already or some kind of strange power. I don't think Hilda from down the street can. I wonder what Hilda from down the street does.
Maybe Astrid.
Could be. Derek says there's at least one channel with a lot of alien-centric communication and programming, and he puts a picture up of Giorgio Tsoukalos. Got good
aliens.
Hair. Total aliens.
His hair.
Daniel.
I met him. His hair is crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. Apparently he only puts it up for camera or conferences. That's it.
It's wild. It's tall.
Yeah. It's good hair.
Yeah.
Very good hair.
Aliens. Aliens.
Totally. Daniel says, yes, from every form of communication is made up of particles in waveform. It's just finding the correct frequency of the extraterrestrials. The Yeti guy says, yes, we can. Telepathy through abductions. Joe states, or we can wait until some engineers invent a BS device that claims to detect alien activity. That's kind of funny, actually. All right, elsewhere, we got Linda saying it's all about telepathy. Tim? Sounds like they make so already. May also be ready listening from reports of summoning UFOs and directing their movements. Too many claiming to not be looked into to consider. Serena, definitely. I've channeled and communicated with ET and multidimensional beings. Just wrote up on this on my latest blog. Mary believes that telepathy is the way to go. Gregory, I seriously doubt it. Watching some of the people on YouTube and documentaries do it, it appears to be a complete con job. Heidi, I think it's a slow burn. They have probably been sending communications for hundreds, if not thousands of years, ramping up their methods as they see our ability to understand more complex methods. We are probably far too stupid yet to decode it in whatever method they are using and or unable to connect the dots to see the whole picture. Once we reach the required levels emotionally and mentally, they will be able to disclose themselves. Disclosure is never, ever going to happen to humans. The only way, say, we have in it is in our level of understanding. Interesting. Burn through a couple more of these. Grant says, CE5, it's not that big a mystery anymore, but it does take work. It won't come overnight. Lou jumps in. We broadcast thought. That as of yet the frequency hasn't been tuned doesn't mean it isn't there. Linda, why, Dave? Why? Don't get it. October, maybe through electrical devices or frequencies, and definitely telepathically for those who are interacted with or abducted. That's 3 for telepathy tonight. Jade, what? Yep. Seriously, people get downloads all the time as well as have telepathic communications with aliens and multidimensional beings. Is this channeling? Perhaps. Depending on what one's understanding of the word. Good communication is the key to all relationships. And we got one more. Dolly in Australia, definitely by telepathy, mostly established by them, having contacts with them and a relationship, also with the use of technology, is the way to go. Mr. Olaf Phillips, tell us where we can find Paranoia Magazine.
ParanoiaMagazine.com. We're on Facebook, Paranoia Magazine, Twitter, Paranoia Mag, and Instagram, Paranoia Mag, and you can follow all my weird adventures.
Thank you so much. We also say thank you to Saryon Michael White for coming on the show tonight to talk about channeling, a little bit of AI, a little bit of robotics in his new book, Saryon.com, if you want to check out his website. Tomorrow night on the show, paranormal author Rick Hale is coming in to tell us about some of the freakiest hauntings he's written about. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern is when we get going at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Thank you to everybody listening in tonight, doing your part to make us bigger and better every night, because together, my friends, we own the night. Talk to you 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.